So, we have learned a lot so far in this unit. So, before we continue to add to what we know, let's review a little bit about what we've learned. So, first of all, we've learned that producers exist in an ecosystem, and producers are our plants. And they produce energy for the ecosystem through the process called photosynthesis. Plants also need water and nutrients from the soil, but plants are the only place where new energy is made. Remember, they convert energy from the sun into energy that can be used for the rest of the ecosystem. Now, consumers are animals, and all animals are consumers. This is because they don't produce energy, they just use it up, or they just consume the energy. Consumers are broken down into three different types: herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores. Animals that eat plants are primary consumers and they're herbivores. Animals that eat other animals are called secondary consumers or carnivores. If a carnivore eats another carnivore or a meat eater eats another meat eater, it's called a tertiary consumer. But there are some animals that are kind of stuck in the middle and they play both roles. They eat both plants and animals, and they are called omnivores. Lastly, we have decomposers, and decomposers eat decaying matter like dead plants and animals. They also help to put nutrients back into the soil for plants to eat. That's where the nutrients from the soil comes from. Examples of decomposers might be worms, bacteria, and fungi, like this mushroom pictured here. Now let's review what we've learned about the food chain. So, first of all, it all starts with energy from the sun. Energy from the sun radiates down onto plants and they soak it up and they love it, and they convert that energy from the sun into energy that can be used by the rest of the ecosystem. So, they produce usable energy from the sun. And then you have your herbivores that come along or omnivores and they eat those plants. So they take some of the energy from the plants and it goes to them. And then something comes along and eats those primary consumers. So the energy that the primary consumer had then goes to the secondary consumer. And then if something came along and ate that lion, then of course the what energy the lion had would then go to whatever animal ate the lion. Now we talked too about energy pyramids earlier this week, and let's remember that the amount of energy that is available decreases the higher up we go on that energy pyramid. So the most energy is available down here with plants because those are the producers. They manufacture the energy from the sun, so that it can be used by the rest of the ecosystem. The next greatest layer of energy would be the zebras, and then, or whatever primary consumer directly eats the plants. And then the last level would then be whatever animal eats the primary consumers. So, as your energy available decreases, also the number of organisms in the food chain also decreases because there has to be enough zebras to feed this lion. There has to be enough grass to feed these zebras. If there's too many zebras, then all the grass gets eaten, and there's an imbalance in the food chain. Um, all energy made in the food chain comes from the producers or plants that convert the sunlight into energy using the process called photosynthesis. The rest of the food chain just uses energy. So, as you move through the food chain, there's less and less energy available. For this reason, there are less and less organisms the farther along the food chain you get. One last thing is that links higher in the food chain rely on the lower links. So even though the lions don't eat grass, they wouldn't last long if there wasn't any grass because the zebras wouldn't have anything to eat. So the zebras would die off, which would mean that there would be less food for the lions to eat. So everything is connected.